ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc., brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Some key players in the highly competitive preseason for the Bears emerged with some very good tape. After a 24-24 tie in the preseason opener with the Miami Dolphins Sunday at Soldier Field, we break it down right here in episode 159 of the Bears Etc. podcast, and we're brought to you by Miller Lite. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. In this week's podcast, we visit with Bears former offensive lineman for the Bears, Kyle Long, who stopped by training camp for the shared practice with the Dolphins last Friday with his work with CBS. Tom, so much to get into. I thought it interesting. I read something that Mike McDaniel actually played his starters more so because he wanted redemption for how they practiced against the Bears on Friday, and he felt it didn't match up to his expectations. And so that goal line stuff to really start the proceedings by the Bears and Noah Sewell's stop with the help from the big guys up front really was an exclamation point for me for the whole game. That determination after a really long drive against the first-team offense and Tua and company, and they slammed the door shut. I love that part of the game.
Me too. I think everybody had a hand in that play and that performance because you have to gain the attention of the other blockers for a guy like Noah Sewell to be able to come and make a play like that. So it's not only the effort of the one guy that makes the play. You know, Austin Booker also did a great job on that play as well. So I think you have a good team effort. And I will say, it's one of the most coachable tapes I've ever watched after a preseason game because it's not a bunch of criticism and yelling. It's some emphasis on how to do things more efficiently that is going to help you as a player, and it's going to help the scheme as a whole.
Does that cover three phases?
Yes. No. Yeah. Of course. And
right.
That's what I think when you talk, initially about the coaching and stuff, they're going to have a great opportunity to bring these guys into a room, watch the tape. And even though you may be coaching a tight end, you're coaching all the tight ends. You could be coaching a defensive end and you're coaching all the defensive ends. So I just think this is a super beneficial tape to make corrections on.
Before we get into that tape, one roster move, Amir Speed, waived injured, one of the fastest defensive backs on the team. Amir Speed is a proper name for him, but a running back added, Britton Brown, a big guy, 6'1", 205, had some special teams work, former seventh-round pick of the Raiders from UCLA, and that due in part probably to the question mark of where they're at with Roschon Johnson. He has a foot injury. And Travis Homer came down with a calf in that game. So another big body to do what Ben Johnson is interested in, and that is to play some smash mouth football in addition to his creativity, designing big explosive plays. So more hands on deck in the running back department.
Yeah, and you got to have them. And Eric Bieniemy is a really good running backs coach that is going to have high regard and requirements for all of these guys. And I like the showing that they all brought up into the game yesterday, this past Sunday, and excited to see how it goes moving forward because it's not only up to the running backs, it's about every player on the field, every play called to see how they all end up working together in the big picture and improvement.
Did you learn anything about the roster that maybe you didn't know or you had a question mark, albeit just one game, but they did a lot go from the practice field to the game day field, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think segment coaches, I think the offensive line coaches really got these guys well organized and how to help each other and not hurt each other. And so that could be something as simple as having a combination block from a defensive lineman to a second level. Make sure all your emphasis is focused on not hitting each other, hitting that defensive lineman, getting him started, getting him moved, and know that lineman that has to go to that second level, know the perfect time to get up to that second level. Keep keep him out of the runner's path and allow that run to go from 2 yards to 6 yards or beyond. And then I thought the running backs did a really nice job of being familiar with exactly where the hole was going to open up. And then if they had to make an instinctful decision, an innate decision by a running back, they knew exactly how to cut into a larger crease to turn that into more yards. I think the tight ends did a nice job, but, tight ends, one thing they will learn as time goes on is you have to anticipate where the player is going to be during the course and the motion and the momentum of a play, not necessarily where they are. So that's when I talk about coaching details. I think you're going to improve the performances out of these positions just by showing them where to anticipate to be, not instead of being behind by a half a shoulder, a half a foot.
You mentioned the running backs. Kyle Monungai continues to get a lot of praise from coaches, from head coach Ben Johnson to offensive coordinator Declan Doyle on Monday, saying his downfield blocking was evident, the effort, he's tough, he's hard-nosed, willing to stick his face in the fan. That was the quote. Right?
Dude, he got run over by a defensive lineman, but I don't care. It's because his willingness to stand in front of a defensive lineman that has escaped his block at the line of scrimmage. Now he's pressuring the quarterback, and Kyle Monungai got up there, gave everything he possibly could. He bounced backwards, but he slowed the defensive lineman enough where he didn't affect the outcome of the play. So it's some of these things that can not be pretty, but they're effective.
He came with that reputation, and he's backing it up for sure. All right, let's talk about the defense. What did you see? Anything stick out to you in your defensive notes? On Bears Weekly this week, we're going to have a sit-down with Austin Booker. Had himself a day. First time in his playing football life at any level, he had 3 sacks in a game. This is a former tight end, former wide receiver, former athlete that's becoming a pass rusher for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah,
I know it's one game, but man.
I know you announcers and you pseudo football fans, you don't appreciate stopping the run, Jeff, because that's where you really earn your opportunity. You earn your playing time, because Austin Booker went out there and performed against the run as well as he did on getting those sacks, and whether it's on the goal line. So there's a play, and it's play number 20 on the defensive side of the ball. So he gets a pass rush, gets blocked, was able to put some pressure. It's an outlet pass to the left. He disengages and runs probably 35 yards and has an impactful hit on the sideline. So it's, and I joke with you about the sacks because, look, man, they are a premier play for any defense. But when you look at what Austin Booker is required to do outside of only rushing the passer, there's evidence of it, and he's doing it at a high level. So right there, you start thinking about increased reps, increased opportunities in practice. And so not only was his pass rushing skills on display against tight ends, tackles, and guards, so was his run stopping willingness and ability.
Yeah, I like the fact too, he's up in the 250s now. So that's important, right? Man, I wonder if he can even hang on to that speed and quickness with another 5 to 10 pounds down the road in his career as he matures. He's only a young man at 22, so a lot of room for growth yet for him. Kick off your game day with Blue Moon. Every sip of Blue Moon's Belgian-style wheat ale, crafted with Valencia orange peel and coriander, is a winning drive for your taste buds. I appreciate that backside pursuit and that never-ending burst to try and get things done. Javon Dexter does that too on the defensive line. These long guys that can use some of that length to track down a back or a receiver, whatever the case may be downfield. So that extra effort is significant. How about the linebacker Noah Sewell? What did your notes reveal about Noah Sewell? Number 44, we talked about what he did on that tackle that he shared on the goal line stop. But there were other things he did. At some point in that game, he was the leading tackler until Austin Booker passed him up with 6 tackles on the day.
Noah Sewell, since OTAs, read, react, and attack. That's what I like about him. He is, you can see that his instincts and his understanding of what he's seen across the line of scrimmage, not only through his study habits but from the coaches being in his ear. And Noah Sewell is playing a high, fast-paced brand of football. And whether it's instinctful decisions on the interior of a play development, or if it's the ability to athletically flow to the outside. I'm super encouraged on game one from what I've seen in practices, but I want to continue to be encouraged in game two and so on and so forth, because I think he could play an important role in this defense.
Now, back to Booker for a moment. In the 24 preseason, he had 2.5 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. So, this is building on what was a rookie year at the age of 21 as a third-year sophomore there at Kansas after that transfer from Minnesota. And Sewell, if he would have been healthy at Oregon, he might have been a second or first-round pick. If you talk to scouts about that, he, in his junior season, was just tearing it up over there. And I think he's battled some injuries, but, man, if he can stay healthy, that's the leading candidate to be your strong side linebacker. And a defense that won't use a lot of that, but he could also fill great role on special teams, which I know Richard Hartau likes him on there too.
You know what's too is, how do you complement other guys on the team? Because Noah Sewell and Hippolyte played a nice job of tandem linebackers, and they were really able to complement each other's strengths and awareness and flow to the play. Just like, the combination of these two guys when they work together. Booker has a really good rush against the left tackle. The quarterback has nowhere to escape. Dominique Robinson wins his battle, and boom, there he finishes it with a sack. So whether we're talking about linebackers, defensive ends, or even the interior defensive linemen and the defensive backs, complementary football is really important when they all learn the big picture of the scheme.
Good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears and you too. And our aches, pains, or injuries keeping you on the sidelines, Athletico's movement experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks and create a personalized game plan for your recovery with no prescription or referral needed. Athletico Physical Therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico, proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. Let's go back to the offense a minute. Bears passing 26 of 39, 67% for Tyson Bagent, for Case Keenum, and Austin Reed in the fourth quarter on that final drive. 96.5 quarterback rating, 3 touchdowns. They took 3 sacks. They had an interception, 11 first downs by pass. They hit 14 different receivers on those 26 completions. Declan Doyle talking about the quarterbacks in general. A lot of good things on tape. A lot of good things to clean up. No different than what you just said. So offensively speaking about that, but he's excited about the many things that were done. Were you as well?
I was, but when I look at the completions, you kind of get a feel of the excitement of what this offense can be, using misdirection, using bootlegs, using really effective play action. But then you get about maybe 4 or 5 passes that are on the tips of the finger, either on the fingertips of the player, or they're an eighth of a second behind, or, just in a catchable, uncatchable position, and then they either fall to the ground incomplete or tipped in the air. It's those plays that kind of drive a coach or a fan of the game a little crazy, because you think of, when you talk about their statistics, how much better they would be if they could just have those 4 or 5 completions back.
Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears and now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget, and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. I'm glad you mentioned Ruben Hippolyte as well. He is the Bears' fastest linebacker. That speed shows up. He also he's not shy about popping you either. So he was somebody that stuck out to me that I appreciated. Love what Luther Burden did right before the awareness, right before the half. You got to give credit to, and I know it's been written about, but the the clock management in the mind of Ben Johnson. Timeout on a first down. They get him off the field. Bears go 3 and out, and then boom, they get the ball back with just enough time to leave less than a second on the clock to get points before the break. Those are things that are highlighted. Those are things they've been working on. Those are things that Ben Johnson has in his creative mind as well.
He thinks about the entirety of the game, because as we talk about the offense and defense, you got to talk about the special teams, because when you talk about either the punt or the kickoff returns and those elements of the game, they're going to play an enormous role in this season. When you consider how many games outdoors the Bears play and how the weather affects that portion of the game, and I would think that Coach Hightower, is going to make it a point of emphasis this week, especially in the Buffalo practice leading up to the game, the improvement that he needs to see out of those segments.
All right. Anybody I missed on your cheat sheet of notes, player-wise, that maybe stuck out that only Tom Thayer's eyes could see? How about it? What do you got?
I got to say, because I didn't know what to think at the beginning. I'm super impressed with the progression of Ozzie Trapillo. Yeah, Ozzie Trapillo.
Start over.
I'm super encouraged the development I see out of Ozzie Trapillo, because I really didn't know if his traits were transferable from the right side to the left side, especially in the NFL. Ozzie Trapillo is a big, powerful man, and the better he gets to know the offense, he gets to know where his help is coming from, the more conversations he can have with a guy like Joe Tooney, it's going to speed up the whole learning curve for that young man. And I'm not saying anything against Braxton, because Braxton is his recovery from his ankle injury is super impressive to me. It kind of gives you an indication how important this life is to him. But for the difficulty of playing that left tackle position and knowing where Ozzie has come from, I'm super impressed what he's left on the field so far.
Time now to switch gears. Your old buddy, and I'm sorry you missed him, Kyle Long, was up at Hallis Hall last week. Had a chance to visit with him. He talked about you a lot. One of the many things I had to actually, for time reasons, had to take some of it out, because he went through your whole history of playing 44 games in 1 year, gave you credit. I told him I stand in the booth, you sit, and Tom earned the right to sit by those 44 games in 1 calendar year. So he threw a lot of flowers at his boy here.
It's weird, because the first time I ever saw Kyle Long, his dad and his brothers, he was about 4 or 5 years old walking across the street in Maui, Hawaii. And I go, oh my God, that's Howie Long. And I remember pulling over and getting out of the car and introducing myself and just saying, God, I'm a huge fan of yours. And they were going on a sailboat. And then you think of the times that I had a chance to play against Howie Long, and then Kyle Long comes aboard and I have a chance to meet him and become friends with him. It's just been a kind of a lifelong association with the Long family, from meeting him early in life to playing against Howie, and to getting to know, Kyle as well as I have, and admiring his brother Chris and everything he's done after football as much as what he did in football.
Good years here with the Chicago Bears. Here's our conversation with Kyle Long. Looking fit to hit.
I feel like it feels like coming home.
Yeah.
For a guy that's not from Chicago, no family in the Midwest. I show up in Lake Forest, Illinois, and it just feels like the promised land to me. Yeah. There's something about it. And the great thing about Hallis Hall is, and as you know, there are so many staff members from the first day that I showed up that are still working here. Mm-hmm. And then there's still so many people that have changed.
Yeah. Oh, there's been a lot of change.
Coordinators, quarterbacks, you name it, they've all changed. But there's some people that maintain the fabric of what it once was at Hallis Hall. Now we have a new building, new coach. Everything's brand new, but at the end of the day, that love is still real. I felt it today at practice. It was really cool.
Yeah. You were on the sidelines doing some work for CBS. Tell us what it felt like down there. Miami Dolphins practicing with us, so a little intense, as we might expect, and shared practices, but what was your observations of? But I keep telling people, listen to practice. It sounds different.
Tell you what, the thudding that I heard, the hitting that I heard, I haven't heard it in a long time. And as a dad now, if I hear a noise like that in the other room, I go sprinting in to make sure that my older daughter's not pummeling my younger daughter. But these are the noises you want to hear at camp, Jeff.
Yep.
These are the things you want to hear. And for all the talk about the offense, and everybody wants to talk about the offense, me too, until I'm blue in the face, It's the defense that will be the catalyst for success this year. I mean, obviously, the offense will get better. Caleb will make progressions. Ben Johnson will leave his fingerprints on this offense. But I'm excited about Dennis Allen. And I know we had Matt Eberflus, and the defense was aces at certain points in the season. I think under Dennis Allen, this defense is really going to be on fire, and they're going to understand that they are the straw that stirs the drink for this football team.
Kevin Byer, the veteran safety who's been around a bunch, so he has some good perspective, said that Dennis treats every meeting as if he's a drill sergeant. So you take your mind into what that sounds like. Again, it's a little bit different than what they become accustomed to, and maybe their whole careers. I don't know. It sounds like this is the first time these guys have hit like this in their careers, most of them. Tackling, not even sure what is a live period and not, so they just go all in anyway. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's special. And the word callous gets thrown around a lot
all the
when
time.
It comes to training camp. We're going to get calloused. Oh, yeah, buddy, you're going to get calloused? You're going to be that. That's cool. Well, you know what? Just show it to me. And what I loved seeing today was the physicality at the line of scrimmage. And, again, I can talk about the receivers, and I can talk about all these skill players and the guys we have on the back end defensively. But you and I watched that Super Bowl. What matters most?
Line of scrimmage, bad boy.
The line of scrimmage.
Line of scrimmage.
And that's why
tells the final story.
Guards are getting paid $25 million a year right now.
Can you believe that, by
because
the way?
that matters. It really does matter.
Think about this, Tom. Tom, we spoke to some people last week, and we brought it up, and he goes, I never made $1 million in my career. I'm sure your father feels the same way in some regards. He's a Hall of Famer, though, so he did okay. But the money, I mean, it's there, obviously. Otherwise, they wouldn't be paying it. But can you imagine? I mean, look at the paydays. What? You're grinning. I said, Tom, do we need to start a GoFundMe for you? It was funny at the time.
I'm glad my head didn't get beat up too bad because I can sit up here and talk football. And that's great. And I love the game. And I was talking to Carmen and Yurko earlier, and I was looking at Yurko, and I said, you and I both can relate on this. When you're done playing football, there is a crater-sized hole in your chest, and you try to fill it with something. And for me, it is staying involved in the game of football.
Right.
Now, I don't wear a helmet. Right. I don't hit people. The quarterback doesn't pat me on the ass and say, thanks, big guy. But at the end of the day, I get to talk football. It makes me feel like I'm still involved. And if there are people that value anything that I have to say, awesome. And I'm appreciative for that opportunity. And if it weren't for my time in Chicago, the fan base we have, I don't know if I'd have a gig after football. So I'm glad, and I'm happy.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Because there's so many damn good people that get into the media.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I both know.
Yeah.
Every year they're making new guys for the media. It's called retirement from the NFL.
Right, they are.
And, I work on a pregame show. I work on a pregame show, and the difference between working in television and working in the NFL is, in the NFL, that guy who just got drafted is going to have to come earn it, and somebody's going to have to beat me. These guys, they retire from the NFL, and they're already on a Hall of Fame track. They may have Super Bowl rings. They're getting the job, buddy.
Right.
Okay? Particularly quarterbacks. And we've seen so many of these guys get media savvy through training that the league offers to them.
Did you do any of that?
I didn't. You
didn't need to, honestly.
The media training I had was when
Dad
Cutler was like, nah, I don't want to do the podium. You can go do the podium.
Yeah.
And those were my reps. And growing up around my dad and Terry Bradshaw. And now looking back, I'm like, I don't know if I should have listened to my dad and Terry Bradshaw. But my point is this. Guys are getting better at understanding that football is a tiny little speck in life.
Right.
What are you going to do after that?
Right.
And the best thing for guys like me is to stay in it in the media.
Well, look at Tom. 9 or 10 years as a player, 30 years as an announcer. I mean, that's a lifetime attached to one organization.
I don't know my dad as a football player.
Yeah.
I know my dad as the guy with glasses and the square head on Fox NFL
But boy, he
Sunday.
looks good on camera still.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
People always say, what was it like growing up with your dad being a Hall of...
Yeah, right.
I didn't know that guy. The guy that I knew was my high school coach.
Right.
And he talked about football on Sunday.
Or Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, your brother. Also a media guy.
Another guy I got to keep my eyes on. I got to look over my shoulder. He may come take my job. He's
Right,
a podcast host. He's, world-renowned Super Bowl champion twice. He's saving the world. Like, these are the people you have to worry about, Jeff.
So the funny thing is, in our business, the one that I started in, now it's 40 years in the business this year. 40 years doing sports broadcasting. You always you always are looking over your shoulder, right? But you always are saying yes to everything because you feel you could never say no because you don't know what door opens. I did say no a couple times, and I regretted it. But in the end, I still made the right decision. I could have been working in Odessa, Texas for a TV station right out of
Friday Night
college.
Lights.
I didn't know what Friday Night Lights was in 1985.
Permian Panthers.
Right. But I regretted it, right? But in the end, it allowed me to stay in Chicago my whole career, and so things fell right. Do you feel now as a retired NFL player and burgeoning broadcaster for some very good entities, big-time entities, do you feel you have to say yes to everything? Do you feel that need, or do you feel like,
boy,
gosh,
I yes to a lot. I say yes to a lot because I'm the kind of guy that I think that I'm confident enough to know that I'm good enough to do most things, and I'm stupid enough not to be afraid to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll give it a try. And there have been dozens of times in my short media career that I have felt like the size of a piece of rice because you just get so embarrassed by a flub that you had, or you said the guy went to the wrong school, or you didn't study enough. That's the worst one. Where it's like,
yeah, can't do that. Not
but
in our
now,
business,
I'm
right?
not covering the Bears anymore. I'm covering 32 NFL
It's a lot of work.
teams. And I'll promise you this. If I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks and I try to skim over something,
Yeah.
there's a lot of diehard Seahawks fans that cannot wait to fact check me.
Is it harder to hear that or harder to be in a meeting with your teammates and a coach is pointing you out that you made a mental error in a game, or you did something that, wasn't right, and you're going to get the criticism from the coach in front of your teammates?
The fear of being the reason for one of your teammates being injured is what drove me. And
interesting. Yep.
You don't want to be that guy in the meeting room.
Right.
The fear of not wanting to be that guy.
Yeah.
You want to be the guy that really doesn't get talked to much in meetings.
Right.
And when I think about a guy like Joe Tooney, who the Bears obviously invested a lot in, those are the guys you want, okay? Boring. It's like Tim Duncan.
Bears fan, by the way.
You know what I'm saying?
Tim Brown.
Tim Duncan.
Or Tim Duncan, excuse me. Tim Duncan, yep.
One of the best players to ever do it. The big fundamental. That's how Tooney gets the job done. You don't. I mean, look, it gets bad quickly when you become the guy that's called out in the meeting and doesn't fix it.
Right.
That's your chances
how
end.
How about behind the mic, though? Do you get critique? Do you get? I don't know what the process is at that network level.
I have the benefit of the fact that most of my employers, and I think they're starting to figure out that I'm not, have thought that I'm a caveman. So if I'm not just drooling on a mic, they're like, "Hey, he's doing great out there.
Come on.
Did you see that?"
You are a gifted speaker.
Listen,
you always have been.
Listen to him enunciate.
No, you do a great job.
I'm serious.
You did it as a player.
My heart beats when they say we're going live coast to coast in 30 seconds on Sunday morning when I'm working in that big studio in New York City every Sunday. And I know that we're the first boots on the ground for the NFL Sunday. Like, my heart beats fast, man. I remember how calm I would get before a football game because the hay was in the barn. There was nothing I could do. I just accepted it. When you're in television, when you're in radio, when you're calling games, you are looking at your notes until the last second, aren't you?
100%. Oh, yeah.
And then they're like 5, 4, 3, and then you slide them to the
Tell everybody what are you involved in? Everybody's calendar changes in terms of duties every football season. What are you doing right now? What's the plan for 25?
So right now I am employed by CBS. I do stuff for CBS Sports, CBS HQ, and the network CBS on Sunday. Sometimes you'll see me on NFL Today on Sundays. It's a pregame show. Sometimes every Sunday morning you will see me on, I guess it's Paramount. We're going digital, so it's hard for me to explain. Remember when it was like,
I'll
be on Channel 37 at 8 o'clock.
No, that's
now
not
it's
that way.
like, I guess Google it.
Right.
Sunday I'm working. I work Monday through Thursday. I've got a podcast called Pushing the Pile Podcast where I team up with a scouting general manager type in Mike Renner, who is a draft analyst. He's brilliant. And we attack conversations from different perspectives, I would say.
Yeah. Would you call it lively?
It's lively. It's definitely, sometimes the producer gets in my ear and say, hey, you can't say that. You can't do that, buddy.
Going back to the NFL today, it's a legendary program. Growing up here, even, there are Chicago influences. The late Bruce Roberts was one of the first hosts. Of course, Brent Musburger made it what it is with that crew. And does it feel like you're a little bit of part of history when you sit there? You don't probably think about it, but you are. It's one of the most important pregame shows in sports history.
1,000%. And obviously, I grew up in a house that put on a West Coast pregame show and Fox, and I grew up in that studio and that cast of characters we don't even have to name.
Nope.
They're like all my uncles.
Right.
Now working at CBS, you get to work with Bill Cowher, and you get to work with fantastic talents like Nate Burleson and former MVPs like Matt Ryan, and you get to see kind of the East Coast is so much different than the West Coast in everything, and like particularly these studio shows, it feels like it's clean, buttoned up. Mm-hmm. I really like that. I think it's classic. Mm-hmm. It gives me a real classic feel.
Right, that's a good way to put it.
And there's something about going into the city in New York on Sunday morning and having a suit on before the sun comes up, and you're getting ready to tee off for the NFL slate. There's nothing better than that. And when I hear that CBS theme, I just get goosebumps.
Right. All right. So you touched on the Bears, touched on Caleb. He's one of the talk of the league seemingly every week. Ben Johnson. You've gotten to observe him, break down his tape, I'm sure, from Detroit. What are we getting here?
A physical team. Everybody thinks creativity, scheme. But what they fail to realize is that the Detroit Lions bludgeoned people at the line of scrimmage, both lines of scrimmage. Then you take a look at some of the moves that they made to bring some of these hosses in on the defensive front. Guys like Grady Jarrett are going to get the most out of Odengbo and a number of other players. Sweat's going to be healthy. I think about the back end and the health issues we had there.
Yep.
We're going to have these guys this year. If the offense can just continue to move along and play physical, we're going to have an opportunity, 2 division opponents in the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions in week 1 and 2, correct?
Yep, correct.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, right. Say hello.
You know how you say hello? You put the screws of your helmet right up under his chin, and you do it for 65 plays in a row. And I promise you, at the end of the day, they're not going to want to play with you. And the great thing is you get to play those guys again. It's a division opponent.
Exactly. I mean, the division's something. I still feel it's the best. I know there's going to be AFC West enthusiasts. Yep, they've got 4 tremendous head coaches over there. They got quarterbacks. AFC North is also a bloodbath. But, the angles that I'm looking at as well, the Bears' defense, like you said, some people say the offense is going to have to carry the defense early. Some analysts have said that. I say it's just the opposite.
I remember when I moved to offensive tackle out of necessity. We had an injury in camp. I had to move to right tackle. I hadn't looked ahead to our schedule to find out who I'm going to be blocking against because I thought I was going to be playing guard. And quite frankly, I don't care who you roll out in front of me at guard. When I moved to tackle, I looked at the list of players.
Who was on that list?
Week 1 was Julius Peppers. I gave up 2 sacks. And then it was Cliff Averill in Seattle and Michael Bennett. It was Von Miller at home. It was Khalil Mack coming to home. Wow. Then we go to Kansas City. We beat Justin Houston, and we beat what's the other defensive end's name? Gosh, I'm getting old, man.
Well, I can't remember either, so I don't remember what year that was.
Great player. But all I'm saying is the way you're looking ahead to all these guys.
Right. Same.
I remember I called my dad, and I said, I looked at this murderer's row, and I said, whew, what am I going to do? And my dad was like, what more could you want?
Right.
Than an opportunity to go slay a freaking dragon.
Right.
Look
at him. His eyes are – he's looking at me right now like he could get on the field right now.
That's what I want this team to understand, that this is an opportunity. Yeah. And, I got to talk to Joe Tooney upstairs, who I played with in Kansas City. He won a Super Bowl with Chris in New England as well. Mm-hmm. Great guy.
Very nice man.
And there's not many times where I can tell him something that I don't think he knows because he's extremely intelligent. And I just, we exchanged our pleasantries, blah, 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 blah. And on the way out, I said, do not take it for granted. because it goes so fast. It goes so fast, and you can't go backwards.
No,
and when I'm sitting there on the sideline today, and I'm 310 pounds, I'm a big old son of a buck, but I can't go backwards. I can't play football. Make the most of it because these Dragons are here now. Imagine the stories they'll tell if their heads are on the floor.
Painting pictures and telling stories. That's your job now.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Tommy, he's a ball of energy, and he's a wordsmith. Man, the guy can talk. Can he not? He can turn a phrase now.
He is very good, and I remember listening to him one night when I was driving somewhere, and I just happened to hear him, and he's on for about 15, 20 minutes, and as soon as he got off, I called him, and I said, Kyle, I want to tell you, that is some of the most intelligent football talk I've ever heard, and I said, that is just, and it's not just because your dad has that in his background, it's because of what you've learned about football, what you've taken from learning about football and your dad and his background. But you are such a well-spoken guy, and I really admire them because, listen, as a player, he was a hothead. He was throwing helmets. He was fighting. He was wanting to beat everybody up. But for making that whole Kyle Long, the guy that we got to know, to the Kyle Long that we know now, I really admire him for it.
Yeah, I always enjoy the conversation. He's got a good perspective on a lot of things. Nothing came simple for him. Started out as a baseball player, turned into a football player. He has the size and the feet to be a football player.
310 or something?
Yeah, he says he's 310. Oh, no, he looks good.
Mountain.
No, he looks good. That's why I said fit to hit. He looks good. But he said
I
there's
saw him standing out there talking to Jimbo, and I'm thinking, wow, in the history of the NFL, these two guys, a Hall of Famer talking to, a guy that's a multiple Pro Bowl. Pretty impressive for the Bears.
He says there's no way he could play in the league right now, and I don't know. 310. Obviously, so many injuries and all that. How do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling them you're a Bears fan? With the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard. Last thought, not related to the Bears, but certainly the division. Until further notice, the Detroit Lions are the hunted, correct? They are the division winners. They've had 2 great years, but they have lost key personnel. And now you learn they've already had 5 season-ending injuries. 2 on defense. Levi Onwuzurike, they were hoping to get back from his ACL from 2024. Not able to do it. He's already been put on the shelf. And cornerback Ennis Rakestraw Jr. from Missouri, a highly touted player, 2nd-round pick for them. Boom, he's on the shelf. So you notate these things because over the course of preseason, they've got a bunch of other injuries too that they're going to have to overcome. But you still got their big guns, but you keep an eye on these things within the division, of which it's going to be a very challenging division for all 4 teams.
Well, they with the injuries they had last year, they already proved that they're not going to just, fold because of that. It's going to the next man up mentality. And I think Detroit put it on display last year. And, believe me, you never want to think less of a team because they have some injuries, because that's right when you get bit in the backside.
Yeah. When you choose a Blue Moon, everything becomes brighter, just like the scoreboard after a Bears touchdown. Blue Moon, made brighter and a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. All right, that's going to wrap us up. Later in the week, we'll be back with you to preview the next visitor to the Chicago Bears facility. Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills, title contenders again here in 2025. They've been not able to get over the hump of the Kansas City Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens at times, but they bring that all-star MVP last year quarterback Josh Allen and company, and a little bit of a different defense than what the Bears faced against Miami, but still very talented.
And they bring Hard Knocks. Don't forget. There's going to be cameras, so watch your P's and Q's.
I forgot about that, Tom. Gosh, you'll be just like a moth. You'll be tied right to those cameras, won't you, throughout the course of that day?
Makeup, bow tie, the whole deal.
Please join us then. We'll preview the entire matchup, and that will be a 7 o'clock kickoff airing nationally on Fox. So it'll be a big spotlight day. We certainly expect to have some more starters on the field for that one against the Buffalo Bills. Thanks to our guest, Kyle Long. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on your Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.